One of the questions that I get the most is, how did I become a Muslim? So I must have answered that question hundreds of times over the last few years. So it only made sense to make a video about it. That way more people, I guess, can know my story, and I can always refer people to this video when people ask me if I don't have time to explain. So I was born in London in 1974, and I ended up embracing Islam in 1992, so when I was 18 years old. The journey of how I got there, essentially, I'll try and just, sum it down to this bite-sized chunk for you. Growing up, I didn't believe in anything. I didn't believe in a creator. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in anything. I remember I prayed, something inside me made me pray 3 times when I was growing up, when I was a young boy. I remember, 2 of the things I can tell you about was that I prayed that Arsenal would win the double, the Champions League and the Premier League. Well, it wasn't called the Premier League at that time. And the other one was I'd be 6 foot tall. I did get the double. I didn't become 6 foot tall, not even close. But those were the only times that I ever even considered the possibility of there being a higher power. I grew up as a wild child. I was kicked out of every school I ever went to. I grew up with undiagnosed ADD, dyspraxia, which was diagnosed but didn't do much to make any difference. Essentially, that just meant I was terrible at, I was very clumsy and put things in the wrong order, and logical things were just not my forte. So growing up in London, as I said, I had an amazing childhood. I mean, I enjoyed every minute of it, despite the fact that I was getting expelled from every school and getting into trouble. A ridiculous amount of trouble. I started smoking when I was 9 years old, and you can guess, if that's what I was doing at 9 years old, how bad things were by the time I got into my teen years. Anyway, I was just going about my life, partying and not really caring about anything. I never cared about education because I always believed that I was set up to go straight into taking over my father's business. My father took over the business from his father, and 100% all I thought was going to happen to me in my life was that business would become my business. So I had no business being interested in anything to do with education. So I was, as I say, expelled from every school and failed every exam. When I was 16 years old, I was at a party with a friend of mine, Simon. He was drunk. He'd been drinking, and I may have been doing that also. And I remember he was kind of like lying down on the sofa, and he said to me, "Don't you think sometimes? Don't you think?" I said, "Think what?" He said, "Don't you think sometimes why we're here? Are we just here just to do what we see our parents doing, making money, doing business, getting old and dying, and that's it? I mean, that's all there is to life?" I said to him, "Simon, you need to be quiet. You've been drinking too much, man. I don't want to think about these thoughts. You bring me down." And he said, no, seriously, why are we here? Why are we alive?" I said to him, "Listen, if you carry on talking like that, you might not be alive for much longer because you're ruining my evening." And that was it. I didn't think anything of it. But that question of Simon, his question really stayed in my mind. Now, it didn't stay here, because all that was here was partying and having fun. But it was here at the back of my mind, and from time to time, I'd think of that question. And I'd wonder, why are we here? Why? I mean, everything does seem to have a purpose, right? I mean, I'd never paid attention in school, but I knew that the moon did something, and I knew that nothing was happening by itself. I mean, something was controlling everything, whatever that thing was. So I don't know if it was arrogance or what, but there was, I wanted an answer to that question, but I didn't want it that badly. And it took until I had to go to the library. I remember I had some exams, and I just couldn't work at home because I was so easily distracted with my ADD. I mean, working at home just didn't, homework, no. So off I went to the library. I went to St. John's Wood Library. I remember it well. Lovely place. Got very little work done there, just kind of daydreamed and stared about. And as I was staring about and looking at the different books, I saw that there was a selection of books to do with religion. I thought, I've got nothing else to do, so I might as well just go and have a look, which is what I did. I went and had a look and thumbed through the various books that were there, and the Bible was there, and the Torah, and the books of just about every religion that I could think of, at least the ones that I knew at that time. I didn't know there was a religion called Islam. I didn't know there were Muslims. Looking back now, I know that I had friends that were Muslims. I was surrounded by Muslims, but I knew nothing about Islam. Nobody told me about anything. I knew nothing. Anyway, I took the books down. I had a look at the Bible. I had a look at the Torah. I had a look at the books of the Hindus, the Buddhists, just every type of book that I could find. And it's not like I was really studying them, but it was better than... anything that would distract me from doing my homework was good for me. So, I kept on going back to that library for a few months, and I'd take a book out from time to time from off the bookshelf, and I'd have a look at it. But time and time again, there was nothing that grabbed me at all. Nothing. I didn't find any of the answers that I was looking for in any of those books for whatever reason. So I said, forget about it. I guess I'm never going to get the answer to that question, am I? I think by that time I was probably about 16. I was going on 17 at that time. And I just thought, well, there is no answer. I'd like there to be an answer to that question, but forget about it. Who cares? Go back to partying, which is what I did. Then I remember being on a bus going. I don't remember exactly where I was going, so I don't want to say it was a lot of years. I don't remember everything, but I remember being on a bus and I was going past a mosque, a big mosque built by King Fahd in Regent's Park. A beautiful building that I'd gone past hundreds of times in my life, if not thousands of times. And on this day, it was a Friday, I saw hundreds of people going into the mosque, and I saw people from Africa wearing their African traditional dress. I saw people from Asia wearing their traditional clothes. I saw people from the Gulf area. They were wearing their traditional clothes. I mean, it was just a complete mix of people. And that was something that I hadn't seen anywhere, because generally speaking, when I see people going to church, everybody looked pretty much the same, and that would apply to just about any of the religious establishments that I could think of at that time. But here I was seeing something that was completely different. Who are all these people? I thought to myself. So I got off the bus. I remember now, I was going to college, and that's why I probably felt it made me laugh now thinking about it. I remember I was going to Kensington College because I had to retake my exams, and my parents had put me in this private college with just, I think, 3 students per tutor in a hope that maybe this time their son would actually pass some exams. So anything, again, ADD, distract me from doing what I should be doing. I jumped off the bus and I went over to the mosque. Now, at that time, the picture of Arabs was really bad on the television. I remember seeing horrific images of people in Iran, people that were hijacking planes, people were holding a machine gun in one hand and a copy of the Quran in the other hand and screaming, and I saw people beating themselves in Iran. It was some disgusting images that made me very, very fearful of Arabs. And I didn't know anything about Islam. I didn't even know there was a religion called Islam, but I did know that these people, some of them, looked like the people that I'd seen on television. So I was really, hesitant to go anywhere near them. And I just sat quite far back on a wall. But something about this spectacle kind of kept me there. And I remember looking at them, on Friday, there's a Friday speech. If you don't know, it's called a khutbah. And that's a speech that the imam, so that's the person who leads the congregation in prayer, delivers. And so he delivered the speech, and the people came and they went, and they left. They filed out of the mosque one by one. And I must have been sitting there for about an hour and a half. I mean, that's ADD for you, I guess, or it was my calling. Let's put it that way. I don't want to start getting too philosophical. But something made me stay there and wait for the last person to leave. And I was sitting on a wall, and I was just about to get up and say, I might as well get to what's left of college now. I've missed most of my classes. And a guy came up to me, and he was from Sudan, I later found out. And he came up to me and he said to me, "Are you a Muslim?" And I said to him, "No, I don't even know what that is." I said, "No, I'm not." He said, "Okay, wait there." So I waited there. I was like, what's going to happen now? I'll come back with a machine gun or something. Anyway, he came back with 2 books, and I'll always remember it was a translation of the Quran in English. And there was another book by a Canadian lady, and I remember it to this day. I think she was called Suzanne Hanif, and the book was called What Everybody Should Know About Islam and the Muslims. And he said to me, "Look, take these books, look after these books, read these books, and if you have any questions, come back to us and we'll be happy to answer your questions." I was like, "Oh, that's really nice, thank you. That's nice." Like, people don't usually just give you things for free. And he wasn't pushy, and he wasn't telling me anything about the religion. He was saying, "Look, here's 2 books that can help you." I was like, "Oh, touch, nice." So anyway, I went home, I got those books. I remember I hid them in my bedroom because I thought that if my parents find them, they're not going to be happy with anything, that's not their way of life. So I remember putting the books in my top shelf. I can remember it now that I'm thinking about it. And I remember the first time I took down the translation of the Quran, I was like, all right, let's get into this one now. And immediately after reading it, I thought, well, it's another book that I'm not going to find any answers in. There's nothing here that makes sense to me. But the reason it didn't make sense to me was it was written in really old Shakespearean English. And that was just too much hard work for my ADD mind. I wanted, something instantaneous. I didn't want to have to wait about. So I remember I put the book back. About 2 weeks later, I took it down, had a thumb through some of the pages. Same thing. I said, I can't make head or tail of this. So I gave up on it. And I put it back. Then I think I was close, and I forgot about it basically, carried on partying and doing what I had to do. And I remember being on a bus. The next thing that happened to me, I was on a bus and I was about 17 and a half, I think. And I was on a bus and there were these two ladies talking about a place in London that they went to where they heard people stand up and publicly talk about their faith. And they were saying, oh, it's amazing. There was a guy was standing there, he was talking about, Christianity. There's another guy talking about Islam. There's another guy, talking about Buddhism. And she was describing a place that I later found out was Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park, which many people will be familiar with. So when I heard them talking like that, actually, I remember at first, nothing really kind of triggered. I was like, oh, whatever, Islam, Muslims, that's not what I'm about. I'm not interested in that. And then she mentioned, oh yeah, he had a Quran in English. And I thought, oh, Quran, wait, I've got one of those. Okay, wait a minute, there could be something there. And I remember at the same time I was listening to a lot of hip hop, and at that time as well, a lot of the music, was talking about Islam and the Quran. So there was a bit of momentum for me to find out more as I was getting closer to my 18th birthday. So I went to Speaker's Corner, and it was crazy. I remember thinking to myself, what am I doing? It was a Sunday, I wasn't, usually on a Sunday I'd have a hangover. I would be wasted from the night before. Somehow I managed to make it to the park. I don't even know if I went to sleep the night before. I went to the park. It was madness, lunatics everywhere. And amongst the lunatics, there were some really interesting people to listen to. So I did. I remember clearly listening to a Christian guy. I remember clearly listening to a Jewish guy. There was somebody talking about Buddhism, and there was somebody talking about Islam. I went around everybody, and it was it's just me, and not complaining or criticizing anyone, but nothing really resonated with me from any of the people until I listened to the Muslim. Now, he was from South America, but the way that he was explaining what he believed and what he found in the Quran, it was the first time I listened to somebody and I said, I can't argue with what he's saying. I kind of wanted to, because I was really proud and arrogant growing up. I thought I knew everything. When I heard him speak, I said, it's difficult to argue with that. I don't even believe in God, but what he's saying does make sense. And he was talking about how can there be no God, and how this, and how a lot of what he was saying, actually, I remember he was asking questions. He was saying, how can it be this like this? And how can it be like that? And I was thinking, yeah, he's kind of got a point there. Anyway, I ended up staying and listening to him for about 4 or 5 hours in the park. He wasn't speaking the whole time. There were other people speaking. And the feeling that I had when I left the park was there's something different about what I heard today. Something's different. So anyway, I said, I'm going to come back next week. I went back the next week and I stayed there all Sunday. I went back the next week after that. And I remember I had a little Walkman, which for those of you who don't know was a tape cassette recorder that you could, with headphones, and you could record, I guess like a mobile phone, right? But it had a cassette recorder in it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I would record what he was saying, and then I would listen to it during the week. And as the weeks passed by, I would go there every single week. And as the weeks went by, I was saying to myself, this is really, okay, I'm onto something. This is nice. What I'm hearing is making me feel good, that there's I'm kind of getting answers to questions. And I remember going down Edgware Road, which is a road in London where there's a lot of people from Gulf countries. There's a lot of Arabic shops there. But back in that time, which was, what did I say it was, 1991-ish, 1991 going on 1992, the only shops that were there that had anything to do with anything Arabic were bookshops that specialized in Arabic calligraphy, artwork, and there was another shop which had Arabic rugs or carpets or something like that, or Persian rugs or carpets. I remember going in and asking them, do you have anything about the religion Islam? Do you have anything about the religion Islam? And they would say to me, no, what are you talking about? That's not what this shop is. I was like, all right, forget about it. So my only source of information was Hyde Park. So I'd go back there week after week after week. And 1 month turned into 2 months, turned into 3 months. And after about 6 months of going there, I said to myself, and I still knew very little, by the way, very little. about the actual religion. I mean, I was only getting what this person was talking about, and I couldn't control what he was talking about, and I was too nervous to ask him any questions because, again, I didn't know how he was going to react to me. You know, I didn't quite know I wasn't even sure what questions I wanted to ask. But I remember that day clearly. I said to myself, today, you're going to ask a question. You're going to say, I've been trying to get information about Islam and I can't get any information anywhere. Can you help me? That's what I planned to say. So I waited for him to speak and I got really nervous. I remember, I don't even know looking back why I was so nervous, but I was 18 years old and completely outside my comfort zone. And I said, all right, you're going to do it. So I just went over to him. I said, hi. I remember it clearly. I said, hi. I know you might not have time for somebody like me. Don't ask me why I said that. That's what I said. I know you might not have much time for somebody like me, but I think I want to become a Muslim. That's what came out of my mouth. He said, you want to become a Muslim? What do you know about Islam? I said, that's what I meant to say. I don't know anything about Islam and I'd like some information about Islam. He said, I can help you if you like. You want to talk? I said, yeah, that would be amazing. So we sat down and we talked in the park, in Hyde Park. It was a beautiful, beautiful day. Honestly, I remember it like it was yesterday. I was saying to somebody else yesterday, I said, I can remember that day. I can remember the clouds. I can remember everything about that day so clearly. I sat down and this guy gave me so much time. It must have been about 2.5 hours altogether. And he answered all of my questions to the point that I couldn't think of any more questions to ask him. And I remember he said to me, look, everything that I've mentioned to you today, do you know, and you've been listening to over the past 6 months, and do you believe that there is no deity worthy of worship except the one true creator of the heavens and the earth, whose name in Arabic would be Allah? Is that what you believe? At that point, for 6 months, I've been listening and thinking about and become convinced about the fact that yes, there is a higher, there is a higher being of some sort. I don't know the name of that being, but I know I'd come to the realization that I didn't create myself. And, as for the Big Bang theory, well, bangs never produce perfect order, which is what I was seeing around me in creation. So I at that point, I did believe that there was a creator, and I certainly believed that the book and the teachings that the person who was called Muhammad was brought to the world 1400 years ago, I certainly believed that what that person was saying couldn't have been the words of a normal, regular human being, because I've been reading a lot about the scientific things that he'd said, as well as the things to do with society. And there was no way that somebody who couldn't read or couldn't write, as documented by historians, could have known all these things. So I was convinced about two things. I was convinced there was definitely a higher power, that there had to be a creator. And I believed that it had to be one creator, because if there was more than one, there'd be confusion, there'd be problems. So I believed that there was one creator. And I did believe that the person who was sent with the Quran, who was Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, which is a short prayer that we say out of respect after mentioning his name. I believe that that man was no normal man, and that he was a messenger, and that he was the final messenger, because the Quran was sent as the final book. So him, that being the final book, yes, I believed he was the final messenger. So he said to me, if you believe that in your heart, that what you believe in your heart, then say it with your tongue. Would you have a problem with that? I said, no, me, I've always been somebody, if I believe it, I'll say it. I'm not somebody to mince my words. I'll say what I like, no matter if it wasn't always for the best when I was getting kicked out of all of those schools. But I said, yeah, why wouldn't I say that? He said, okay, so if you believe that in your heart, which is what the Muslims believe, if you believe that in your heart, then say it with your tongue. I said, yeah, cool, no problem. He said, okay, look, say it in Arabic first, and then say it in English. I said, oh, I say it in Swahili, I say it in whatever language you want. That's what I was thinking to myself. I didn't say that to him, of course. And he said to me, okay, repeat after me. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. This is basically, he might have made a slight variation on that, but essentially that's what he told me to say in Arabic, which I now know how to say, obviously. At that time, I was saying, ashad. I didn't really know how to say the sounds. And then he said, okay, what that means is that you bear witness, and I said, I bear witness, that there is no deity worthy of worship except the one, Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his slave and his final messenger. When I said that, he said to me, congratulations, you're a Muslim. And he hugged me. And I said to him, no, that wasn't the plan. Not today. I'm not ready for this. Not today. Thank you. And he said, no. He said, if you believe it in your heart and you say it with your tongue, then you are a Muslim. I said, I'm not ready. You don't understand. And as I was saying this, I looked around and there were people for as far as I could see. I didn't realize, but as I'd been speaking to him, people had been gathering around us, behind us, listening and watching because they knew what was happening. They knew that this person wanted to know about Islam and there was a good chance at the end of it, he might actually become a Muslim. I was the only one who had no idea. I said to him, as I saw all the people and they were coming closer to hug me, I said to him, I'm doing bad things. You don't understand. Like I'm doing, not really bad, but I'm smoking, I'm drinking, I'm doing other things. I'm doing some bad things. I'm not a holy guy. And he said to me, doesn't matter. Believe in your heart is the first step. Just believe what you believe and then take it step by step. As he said that, I thought to myself, and I remember he let go of me because he was hugging me. He let go and I remember thinking, all right, okay. And as I was processing it, people were hugging me and people were so happy for me. And I was thinking, what? I don't know about all this. And I was having mixed emotions. I remember one guy, he saw my cigarettes in my shirt pocket. He said, you won't be needing these anymore. And he took them and he broke them. And I was like, no, I definitely will be needing them. And I need one right now. What are you doing? And it was all a bit too much for me. I remember feeling quite overwhelmed, but not in a bad way, in a, wait, did this just happen type of way? He said to me, there's no compulsion in religion. But if you believe what you believe in your heart and you say it with your tongue, then you're from the Muslims. And a Muslim is one, he told me, who just submits his will to the will of Allah. So what he wants to do, if it's different from what the Creator would like him to be doing in terms of living a pure life and so on and so forth, he leaves that habit, those behaviors. Why? Because he knows that his Lord created him to live in a different way, in a better way, not to do things that hurt them. So anyway, I remember them saying to me, we're going to the mosque, we're going to the mosque. It was obviously Maghrib prayer. I didn't know the time, the evening prayer. He said, they were saying, we're going to the mosque. Do you want to come? I said, no way. This is enough for one day. This has been wild. This is too much. You go to the mosque. And so we exchanged numbers. Of course, there were no mobile phones at that time, I don't think. So it must have been my house line. And they went off. And as I'm looking at the camera now, I can picture them walking off. I saw their backs as they were leaving. They went to the mosque. They were from all different parts of the world. And I remember I sat down on the park bench and I sat down. I remember looking, it was such a beautiful park, Hyde Park. And I just looked out and I remember looking up at the sky and I said to myself, this is the best decision you've ever made in your life. You did it. This is the best decision you ever made in your life. And I remember saying that to myself. And I remember feeling quite overwhelmed, thinking like, what now? What now? And I guess that's something that I'll leave for another video. I don't know if anyone watched this, but I guess it seems appropriate. It's the month of Ramadan. And I actually became Muslim just before the month of Ramadan back in 1992. And I don't know how many years ago that was. Maths wasn't always my strongest thing, but I'm 46 now, so that's my journey, and that's how I embrace the religion of Islam. So I hope you enjoyed watching it.